The meeting is live.
Thanks, Chris. Okay. Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting of Tuesday, Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. It is 1:02 p.m. And we're live on a digital platform. Item number 1 on our agenda is a resolution to approve the employment of a director of community and economic development. Ms. Chappelle from HR will be taking the lead on this item. Joellen?
Thank you. So the item on the agenda is a request to consider the approval of Austin Mimi as the Director of Community and Economic Development. The employment of the Director of Community and Economic Development is at a salary of $61,000 for the first 6 months prorated, and $65,000 after that, after a successful completion of his probationary period. I did provide everybody with a copy of his resume. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Adam, Bonnie, any questions?
I was just impressed with his resume, very much so. What I'm looking forward to is seeing that he may be considering things that we've done outside of the box at this point. And I think this is what we have to go looking for. So I'm excited to meet the man. I'm also excited to see what his projections are for our future.
Yeah, Bonnie, I would second that. When I looked over his resume, I was pleasantly impressed. I think that the individual has a lot of great experience at a similar region and demographic, which is amazing to see. So I'm excited to meet him. The only thing that sticks out to me, and this is probably more of a, just broader discussion to kind of, I think, gain some insight, Mayor Slaughter, into where you see the department going. And I know Councilwoman Mealy has mentioned this before, and not to put her on the spot or anything, but it seems that the department has been very much focused on grant administration and those types of things, which is great. But there seems to be an opportunity to really, I think, expand the scope of this department and to really make it not just that, but the hub of where we really push forward economically for the city. And I don't know if that's kind of in line with what Liz was thinking, but when she brought that up, that's where it kind of led me to think. So there's an opportunity there. And I think this individual, my point of bringing that up, I think this individual could be helpful if that's where we want to take the department. So great stuff. And I like what I see.
And I would agree with that. With his experience in IDA, RDA, et cetera, I think this provides a good opportunity for us to, really expand and look at, various projects, strategic planning, et cetera. So I would agree with that.
Absolutely.
And a couple of questions from me. Does Mr. Mimi have any experience with grant writing? I would assume.
Yes.
And will he be present on Thursday for the council meeting?
He will. Yeah.
Present in quotation. Sorry. Will he be on the Zoom? Will he be on the Zoom?
Yep. Yes,
he's joining us. Yeah.
Great. I see he's willing to relocate to Williamsport, which is excellent, because that would have been a hell of a drive otherwise.
He has to per the ordinance anyway.
Yes, and he has to per the ordinance anyway. But I'm glad to see that he's I'm hoping that he's interested in relocating to Williamsport. I guess my one question is, I noticed, so he's retired from his past position in Harrisburg.
Mm-hmm.
Are we anticipating, do we have any idea how long he's hoping to remain in the Director of Community Development position here with the city?
You want to answer that, Joellen, or you want me to?
Sure. I believe he's fully committed to remaining in that position.
Yes, he is. And I believe if you asked him that question on Thursday night, he'd be able to answer. He is fully committed to remaining in the position.
Okay.
And I'm sure more thoroughly from it. I don't want to speak for him, but he did convey to us that he is committed to the position and willing to stay in it.
Okay, I'm not, I mean, honestly, both things I think work. I know that when the college initially brought in Dr. Trachty as a president, that everyone referred to him as Turbo Trachty because he comes in, he gets things done, and then he leaves his, his successor set up for success, and that too is not a bad strategy. But I just wanted to make certain that we sort of had discussions with Mr. Memmi about how long he was interested in serving in the position, so that we knew sort of what to expect. And I guess that brings me to my second question. I'm assuming that we do, but when we talk about a 6-month probationary period, does Mr. Memmi have we established goals for him, things that he's hoping, benchmarks that we're hoping that he'll meet within those first 6 months that will enable to say for certain that he can proceed to a full-time position?
Right, right, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. All right, excellent. And what are those benchmarks?
So we talked about a lot of those during the interview process for setting the goals for and the direction for the department. So he will work with the mayor to clearly define those goals. So yeah, they'll be
what we already
mutually
have discussed with economic development with, well, first and foremost, we have some, as you know, Liz, some DCNR stuff and other grants out there that we have to button up and get finalized up that Stephanie was working on. So we have to kind of clean up some of the stuff that's still out there. Clean up's not the right phrase, but finish up, I guess.
Right, wrap
from
up some ongoing projects, right?
Yeah, and then moving forward, what Councilman Yoder just had brought up, and you had mentioned before as well, Councilwoman Mealy, the scope of the economic development department, where we want to see that go. What projects? I mean, obviously he has experience in RDA, IDA, and various other projects from small to large. So I'm very interested in hearing his ideas moving forward as well, and kind of working collaboratively and not just giving him, obviously tell him some of the things we want to work on and some of the development that we have in mind here that we think we can have moving forward, particularly coming on the other side of COVID, but also to hear, what he thinks would work here and from his many years of experience as well. So, and kind of put that together. But I mean, he has a lot of experience, as you all noted, and I think his, from what he's worked on in the Harrisburg area to those projects and elsewhere, it's, I think it's going to take the department in a nice direction.
Good. Yeah, I just wanted to make certain that we had some sort of internal idea of what we were hoping he would achieve within the department within the first 6 months, because I feel like oftentimes you sort of tell yourself that you're setting up a probationary period for an employee, but if you don't have any clear things that you think need to happen, whether it's buttoning up some DCNR stuff or something like that will demonstrate that the employee is committed and capable, then sometimes. And
also some projects moving forward. We're Lowe's project, that's another DCNR grant we received that we'll be bringing before council.
Oh, we did get the Lowe's one.
We got 145,000. So, but with the CDBG fund, this will be for, obviously we bring this to council once we get all the formal stuff around for it. But that combined with the CDBG, we should be in okay shape.
So that's 290 total. We have to match it even,
right?
It's
around, we were just running the numbers yesterday at our rec meeting, around 300. Yeah, it's around 300-ish, if I remember off the top of my head. But yeah, we'll have all those conversations. So we should, it appeared as though we should be able to do most of the projects that Stephanie and myself and Adam Winder and others had discussed prior to her departure.
Good. Okay. And then just in terms of other things that I know that Stephanie was working on that we don't want to let fall by the wayside, that I already kind of have, the Park Avenue project is something that I think we need to ask Mr. Maybe to pick up and run with. We need to establish a steering committee there moving forward and start working on a couple of projects in that neighborhood to really, I think, enable us to take better advantage of the hospital as a partner within the community. That could have a huge impact. So we can have all these discussions on Thursday as well, but I just wanted to sort of get a sense of how long he was expecting to be with the city and et cetera, et cetera. He certainly comes with an impressive resume, and I'm very excited to make his acquaintance on Thursday and to start working with him. I might suggest, if it's a possibility, that we try to arrange some sort of actual meet and greet for Mr. Mamie when he actually begins his employment with the city. Because I think I felt a little badly when we hired John Sander right at the beginning of the pandemic that I don't know that I actually interacted with him in person for probably 4 months, and that it would be hard as a new employee of the city to not know to not have met your peers in the flesh for a long time. So I think we should try to set up something where people can meet him in a physically rather than virtually. Bonnie, Adam, any other comments related to that?
As you stated, Liz, I mean, there are certain things that we're going to be playing catch up with Stephanie being gone now for what, a month or so. And is he going to be okay with all the information that's left for him? Or is Stephanie going to be on call for the questions that he may have?
Yeah,
Because
so
even though if some of this is in his field, there's still going to be probably questions of what we have accomplished.
yeah, that's a good point, Councilwoman Katz. Stephanie has agreed to stay on and be there if we do have questions, or if he has questions moving forward. So she left. Stephanie was very thorough. She left a detailed list of everything that needs completed and exactly where it was at her departure. So it's very clear when he comes in kind of where he can pick up. And Mary and others in that department, Joe and Carl, have done a great job of picking up the slack in the interim. But yeah, it is clear, where, what needs done. And Stephanie left that very exhaustive list. And also she has agreed to be just a phone call away. So we're appreciative of that.
I
Well,
believe
I'm
she
sure
was.
Mary is there. Mary's there to help also. And it's like anything else. He's coming into a new environment, as Liz said, and maybe his language is a little bit different than what we have been accustomed to. So I think it's, just keeping everybody on the same page. So, I think we're all excited to meet the gentleman, and I'm looking forward to it on Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I believe that Stephanie said that she would trade advice for a bottle of wine, if anyone, if anyone's interested. But yeah, no, she's clearly willing to continue helping out where needed. All right. Bonnie, something you said sparked a question for me, but I can't remember what it was. So Adam, any further comments?
No, not for me. I would just, I would back you up on the clear goals thing. That's something that often gets lost, especially in a situation where somebody's coming in with a gap. And it'd be very important, I think, to make sure that this individual is set up for success in that manner. It's good for both us and it's good for them as well. So I think you guys have some of those in your head. I just challenge you to get them in writing, make sure they're clear, specific, measurable, actionable, the whole SMART goals framework that's out there. It's very effective from my experience, and would just challenge you to leverage that when he comes on board.
Thanks, Adam. Thank you for kind of summarizing that. That was, yeah, I think it's definitely a priority. Just especially when we're all interacting virtually so much more than in person, it can be really hard for a person to get a sense of whether or not they're succeeding if they don't have measurable goals that they know that they're moving toward. Okay, if I hear no other comments, I would take a motion on this item.
Make a motion that we pass this on to the full body of council with a positive recommendation.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Oh, you know what? If I can ask one more question about that item, Joellen and Derek, before we go. I'm assuming that salary is in line with the amount that we have budgeted for the remainder of the year?
Yes.
Okay. That was my recollection, but it occurred to me that I hadn't asked. So thank you. Okay. Then moving on to item number 2 on our agenda. It is a resolution authorizing an MOU between the City of Williamsport and the Williamsport Area School District. Chief Hagan, I believe you'll be addressing this item.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. This is the standard MOU we have each school year with the SRO program. The amounts have changed a little bit from 293 per day to 320.50 for a total of 57,690 for 180 days. All of the other language in the agreement is the same as before. The SRO program is doing well. Sergeant Jody Miller is still serving in that role. The school, Dr. Poole and others have notified us that he's doing very good work up there. And obviously with a very modified situation now with COVID, where things have kind of slowed down. When he doesn't work up there, he works on patrol during the daylight shift. And right now it looks like 4 days a week and 1 day on patrol with the current schedule. But this contract, like I said, is identical to the last version, except for the numbers. And I'll take any questions.
Sorry, Chief, I got muted. That must have been my fault. Adam, Bonnie, any questions?
Chief, when this came down, it was like I had to really look at this. It's like I felt like we just did this. Looking at this, it just seems like
we had to redo it in February when we took out the part-time position and went down to one.
That's why. Okay. I knew there was a reason why this just seemed so recent in my mind. I have no questions with this.
Adam?
Chief, if you address this, and I missed it while I was on mute and checking something, my apologies, but what's the reason for the cost increase? It's about a 9% increase from the last contract. What's the reasoning?
I went to Joe Pavlak and asked him what the number was going to be, and that's the one he provided. I believe Joe can speak to the change.
The increase is related to the 2019/20 fiscal year. I'm sorry, their previous fiscal year, so it was 18-19, being calculated with the prior year's rates. There was no increase or change to the rates in the last contract. So when they implemented this 3 years ago, the following year, last year, had the same rates as the initial year. So this is getting them in line with current rates that the of a police officer see, or a fully phased in police officer.
Okay.
And that would be a patrol officer who's completed his or her 5th year and is on their 6th year. That's a patrol officer C. Basically what Joe is saying is that increase that should have been made last year was not made. And so the correction is being made now.
Okay.
Or perhaps the striking observation that you might make, Mr. Yoder, is that our costs for a patrolman C have increased by 9% in the course of the last 2 years. Is that more or less is that partly what I'm hearing, Mr. Pavlak?
It's the current cost, correct?
Got it. I mean, we know that salaries go up. We have cost of living increases on an annual basis, and we have healthcare cost increases. But that does, to a certain extent, bring cost of employment within the city into perspective. So thank you. Mr. Yoder, anything further? I'm sorry if I horned in on your moment.
No, that's okay. That was my only one.
Okay. And Chief, I don't really have any questions either. Obviously, we all know this is an ongoing agreement. The one question I have is the sort of reduction in the slowdown related to COVID expected to continue through January at this point, or are we projected to be continuing it through the rest of the school year?
It's in line with the Department of Health recommendations and is going to be affected only by a change in those recommendations brought on by either positive change in the pandemic via a cure or medicines or a negative change in the form of a mutation and more sick people. So right now we anticipate it to continue this way for the rest of the year unless something changes in one of those two areas.
Yeah, so I guess actually what I was sort of asking, but I didn't phrase it properly, is, last year we had the part-time officer that we'd had to pull out because we didn't have enough staffing in the department. My assumption is that at least for the remainder of this year, that part-time person would be at loose ends up there anyway, correct?
Yes, and with an inability to even fill our 49th budgeted position
Right.
because of COVID, we don't anticipate putting the part-time officer back up until we can at least get the department up to full staff.
Yeah. No, I understand that, Chief. I was just asking, I guess, to a certain extent, observing that it was somewhat fortunate timing in a weird and unfortunate way that we don't have the staff, but we also don't have the need for the staff at the high school currently.
Yes.
Okay. But all right, I think that's really all the questions I have. Bonnie and Adam, if you've got nothing else, we can I'd take a recommendation.
Make a motion to forward this to full body council with a positive recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, folks, we could be going for an actual record here. We have one further item on our agenda. That's item number 3. Does anyone have any related items to introduce to the finance committee for discussion today?
Nope.
Okay. And I'm trying to think, Joe Pavlak, we should be seeing third quarter reports here at some point relatively soon, but I'm not anticipating them until at least next meeting, correct?
Correct.
Depending on the audit. Okay. Then this will actually be a record if we adjourn in the next 2 minutes here.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we got to get rid of this COVID